Welcome back to Echo Ridge and another episode here in our Civ VII Tecumseh deity playthrough. A quick recap of the previous episode's events. We have met another AI. It is Trungtrak of the Khmer, and their capital is, here we go, Yasodhara. And I'm happy to report that their capital is only Pop 6, with 6 turns until they increase. Whereas we are Pop 7 and 9 turns until we gain another population. Our capital here, Cahokia, is within range of quite a few resources. I think I'm most excited about the Jade and the plus 15% gold. We do have one burning arrow, which is the Mississippians' unique archer unit, and we're producing a settler right now. It does not look like my opponent, or at least the first one we've discovered, has another town yet. So we're doing good there. We do have an early narrative choice. It's the Panther's Way. And I think this narrative choice is based on the fact that our leader is Tecumseh. We have the options between 150 gold and 1 warrior. Well, I believe I could actually buy a warrior for 150 gold. So I think the choice here is obvious. The gold is ultimately more versatile. If I go into my city and click purchase, you can see a warrior is only 120 gold. What else do I have queued up here? The altar. That's right, we do have a pantheon that's going to give us plus 3 influence on the altar, which will further help us in the influence game, especially considering we're trying to befriend the Moreau. We are only 10 more turns away to becoming their suzerain. I'm going to leave this burning arrow at home, and I'm going to build some temporary fortifications. That will give us a nice defensive bonus in case some melee units try to come attack us. So even without having walls, we'll be pretty well fortified. Not to mention the fact that if you noticed, Cahokia was founded, and I don't think I noticed this last episode, on a cliff. So no melee units would be able to come from the north and northwest. Granted, it is up against the sea, so it would be kind of silly for them to wrap all the way around. But if there's enough melee units, they wouldn't all be able to stack. It's kind of a cool defensive bonus there. We do have 2 scouts in the east. We're having to be a little careful around this city-state here because, well, they're hostile. So I'm probably not going to be able to head directly towards this wreckage. I might have to go around. Same goes for this scout here who's already taken a hit, probably from the solution people. So I'm not going to sit here and heal because in the early game like this, there's just entirely too much to find and explore. And I want my goody huts. That wasn't the greatest search of all time. We didn't really reveal anything of value, but we'll continue on. This scout, I think we're going to try. I may end up losing this scout, but we're going to go around the outside, hovering around this coast and see if we can't pick up that wreckage and scoot out before they attack us. I do like the fact that this city-state is in range of 2 camels. Camels become very valuable, especially if you're going for an economic game, because in our resource allocation, you can see that our capital of Cahokia only has 4 slots for resources. Now, you can grow these by a few different methods, but every camel increases the number of resources that can be assigned to a city by 2. This scout here in the northeast is surrounded by a couple of hostile warriors, so we are going to get out of there as quickly as possible. I think we'll end up going into this water tile here. Not great for defense, but it's the quickest route for me to get out. I couldn't have gone just backwards because it would have been in the warrior's zone of control. So it would have only been 1 movement there too. And then in that case, both warriors would have been able to hit my scout. In this case, as soon as the warrior enters this tile here or this tile here, they lose their movement. So the only way I'm going to get hit is if one of the warriors moves into this tile and then attacks. We have met another civilization. It is Jose Rizal, and they are playing as the Mayans. We will do the typical friendly greeting, and I see their capital down here, which means exploration is going to get thinner and thinner as far as goody huts goes. Oh, well, this is not good. We have found a slinger down here, so this scout's in quite a bit of trouble. Because this is all open and flat land, the slinger can pretty much match our movement. And there's the first hit from the slinger, 26 hit points. I'm just going to try to move as fast as possible away from him. Maybe we'll survive, we'll see. Another narrative event, and comes from the fact that we have now hit a friendly status with Moreau, and they're giving us 50 gold. That event happens anytime that you reach this level of befriending on a city-state and is correlated to the type of city-state that they are. And the game's being nice, telling me I'm trailing civics. Thanks for the reminder. The Khmer have a culture of 21.6. Jose Rizal's up to 32 per turn, and I'm sitting at 13. I'm hoping to be able to get a quick boost as soon as we get this settler out. It'll help us by getting us more food and gold to Cahokia, which hopefully being able to reduce that disadvantage. It does look like the Mayans have a town set up. I saw it over here because of their plantation. They also already have a commander. I mean, seriously, look at that beautiful model. Next turn with the scout here, the slinger took another shot. We're down to 29 hit points, which is okay. Not great. So it's all going to depend on this next shot before I can start moving into rough terrain where my scout will have an advantage in movement. I've decided to take this burning arrow and do a little bit of exploration right over in this point here. I want to see what's in these 4 tiles. We only have 2 turns until our settler comes up. And since we were backed up against the coastline, the only other city location that I see that's very promising is right over here. This could be a nice coastal city, lots of resources, although there's not a lot of fresh water. There is this river here, but then that's not in range of all of these resources. And by not settling on fresh water, you automatically have a 5 happiness penalty. But I can't get closer over to here because Moreau's here. We'll have to see what's in these tiles to see if there's also a potential city location there. Jose wants to do a local festival. If we support it, we'll get 3 happiness per turn in cities, which we both only have 1 city. Or we can accept it for 0 influence. Jose will get 2 happy, but we'll get 2 influence. I think this is the no-brainer here. Looks like the Mayans have not done a great job at exploring because we have just found a cairn. So I'm going to auto-move right to there. I'm excited about getting a goodie hut that close to another civilization. It does not look like the slinger followed, or perhaps I moved out of sight range. So I'm going to continue exploring down this coastline and probably hook back up. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to keep going down that coastline because this scout here is going to be able to explore this center area. Don't have to worry about the people because they are friendly. I'd like to get up to 170 influence to be able to befriend them as well. And at 13 per turn, we're not doing too shabby. Here on turn 28, our settler is out. All right, so no fresh water immediately available unless I came down to this point here. But there is some ivory, some cotton, and some more dates. I could not settle within 3 tiles of the though, so I would not even be able to settle right here. There is a lake. I do not know if you settle next to the lake, if it's considered fresh water. Maybe I'll do a settle and reload for science. And I just realized when I loaded the game to start recording again, the yields were not on. There's also some silver and some gold. And if you remember that silver tile, we ended up creating from an event, and look at all the culture around in all these flat tundras. In fact, a city right here is in range of the gold, the silver, the ivory, and the dates. I'm not as worried about the AI coming all the way up over here, but I have seen them forward settle on me quite a few times, so you do have to be careful of it. Right now we're going into producing the altar. I think we're going to change that. I'm going to queue up the settler and then click this little arrow to put the settler in front. As a matter of fact, I have 361 gold. Why don't I just buy another settler? Yeah, I think that's what we're going to do. And the settler lens gives us more information. You can see that settling next to the lake does indeed give us fresh water with, I think, a grayish looking tile, because if you highlight over another tile, it says no fresh water available on this tile. So this is the color you're looking for fresh water. I think there's an oasis over here. No fresh water over here, but we're still going to take a city over there. And I will move the settler directly there. There's not a lot of hostile city-states, so I'm not too worried about it. And then this settler is going to head on over somewhere over here. The game likes this tile here. Once again, no fresh water. And it is within range of all the resources. So why do they like that a little better? Look at all the happiness coming from these flat grasslands that have a forest on them. So that's going to easily be able to mitigate the fact that we're not on fresh water. It would be a little bit closer to Cahokia, but there's no production tiles within this first ring. So I'm going to argue a little bit with the computer and say that this is the better location. Here we have production, we have happiness, we have food, and there may even be another sea resource right off the coast. The reason why the computer may not like it is it might be too far from Cahokia to automatically consider it a nearest city, but we're going to move there nonetheless. But when your city is close enough, a road is automatically formed between the two cities. So, or I keep saying city, but between the town and the city being your capital. Look at this beautiful mountain range. It makes the city of Bach or Bayok very difficult to get to, but definitely a cool landscape feature to look at. We did finally make it to the cairn. We can spend 1 turn of culture to gain 1 pop. So at the current rate, it would be 13 culture for 1 population, or we can gain 20 food in the nearest settlement. I'm going to gain the 20 food. It won't be a full population's worth. We go into Cahokia, you can see that we need 247 food to grow the population, but our next pop growth is in 2 turns anyway. So that would be 46 food, but combine that with the fact that we'd also be losing 13 culture and we're already behind on culture. I don't love that deal. So I'm just going to take the 20 food. Not the best discovery, but I'll take it for what it's worth. We'll pop another search. And we have found Lafayette of the Greek Empire. We'll do the typical friendly greeting, which reduces our influence. There's their capital of Athenae. And Trung Trak is asking us if we want to share in military aid. I'm not going to do it because I want the 60 influence to be able to befriend the Ur. So I'm just going to accept it and get 2 gold per turn. And the food from the Goody Hut and this turn's growth was enough to give us another population. Now the question is, where do I want to go? I could get another food tile, but I really think I need to start concentrating a little bit more on culture and science. So I think I'm going to take one of these tiles here. It'll give me 1 production, 1 culture, and 1 happy. And then with the scout, I'm going to sit here in this beautiful mountain range and heal a little bit. And this scout is still doing good work down here. We're going to have to enter some water. I'm going to pop a search next turn, which will hopefully reveal more lake tiles. Trung Trak now wants to do a research collaboration. I'm not spending the influence, so I'll get the 2 science, and she will get the 4 science. If I had a little bit more extra, I would probably do this, because this will only further separate us in the science game. But I'm not spending influence, and I'm still getting an extra 2 science per turn. And it does help close the gap between us and Lafayette and Jose Rizal, which you can see Lafayette's not doing as well as the other AIs in science, but they're doing great in culture. A warrior has come up and surprised us in the fog of war. It's not going to be too big of a deal. There's also some friendly slingers here that are probably going to start hitting this warrior too, but they're not going to be able to destroy us in 1 turn, and I'll be able to get that town settled. We're a little further away on this guy here. 2 warriors. It looks like they're heading towards Cahokia. Where are they from? The Segunia village. Might have to spend some of that gold and build another burning arrow. Let's settle that second town of Alabama. And then I will start taking pop shots right there. An event based on the fact that we chose the city patron goddess. We can choose plus 50 happiness or plus 25 culture. I need that culture bonus, so as much as I want another celebration, I'm trying to play the catch-up game in the civics. Another event, I'm not sure what caused this one to trigger, but it said satisfied at last, the writer sets down their quill, so it must have been another event. We can choose to grab a codex or 75 influence. I'm going to grab the codex because now when I go into our great works, you can see we have one here, and that's going to give us plus 2 science every single turn. Our first growth in Alabama. Remember, every production that we create in Alabama is going to be turned into gold. So we can look over in the details of Alabama currently. We're getting 3 food, 3 production, and 3 gold, along with 3 happiness. And it looks like the 2 food, 1 happy here would be good. Although this tile here would add another culture to our empire, which would also be smart. Let me pick this tile here since we are trying to catch up in culture. But to continue the conversation we were having about the yields on Alabama, notice that we have 4 gold. There are no tiles in here that are generating gold. It's actually being converted because of this production. The food stays local right now because Alabama is trying to grow. The production gets converted to gold and goes directly to our empire gold treasury, as does the culture going directly to our empire, and the happiness. Now the happiness is sort of split. You can see that Cahokia is generating 7 happiness and Alabama is generating 4, so empire-wide we have a total of 11 happiness. And so later in the game, when we're suffering happiness penalties, Alabama could suffer first, for instance, if all settlements received -5 to happiness. This settlement would be not as happy, whereas Cahokia would be doing just fine. I guess long convoluted story goes is all the happiness from your settlements goes to your empire-wide happiness, but it also impacts each settlement individually. Whoosh, that was a mouthful. Another diplomatic action. This one's from Lafayette. I think we're just going to take the 2 influence per turn again. That brings us up to a 15, which means we're closer to being able to befriend the Ur. And remember, with us playing Tecumseh, we get +1 food and +1 production per age in settlements of every city-state we are suzerain of, and +1 combat strength. Maybe we should try to befriend the Sagunia first, so they'll be a little less hostile. Not that I'm too worried about it, because I don't think they can do much to us. Another cultural exchange offer by Jose Rizal. Again, I'm not spending the influence, but we're starting to get a lot of these offers because my opponents can see that I'm sitting on a backstock of 146. And Moreau has finally become our suzerain, so we have a bonus that we can choose. And a lot of these are based on how many city-states we are suzerain of, which is not very exciting considering we'd only be suzerain of 1 city-state. So I'm kind of liking these gemstones. They provide +4 production and +5% gold. Yeah, let's do the gemstones, which is going to help out our capital quite a bit. And I believe because we were Tecumseh and we finally became suzerain of a city-state, we have another narrative event, which is going to give us +50 to influence, which gives us what we need to start befriending the Ur. And because they're friendly, they start way over here. If they were hostile, they would start at the far left of the bar and take twice as much time to be able to become suzerain of them. As it stands, we'll be suzerain of the Ur in 15 turns. We have another event, and it has to do with Tecumseh. If we form an alliance with another civilization, even if it only lasts 1 turn, we'll get a diplomatic attribute point, or we can just take the flat +25 to culture. I think we're going to go for this. Trung Trog already is friendly with us, and we'd only have to spend a little bit more to increase that relationship to form an alliance, and 1 diplomatic attribute point could be pretty big. We already have a research collaboration and a military aid. I think I'll try to do a local festival for 55. It'll change the relationship for the positive by 12 if she supports it, and 5 if she accepts it. Old Lafayette's got 2 settlers down here, although 1 looks like it's taken some damage. Keep an eye out for some nasty evildoers. Let's pop a search. Nothing as expected. We have finally finished discipline, which means we're going to get our free army commander, which is great. And in the same turn, we finished masonry, so all of our mines and quarries are going to get +1 to production, and we can start working on that monument. I want to get this army commander over to Alabama as soon as possible, for the simple reason I want the experience here. I don't have the gold to create another unit right now, and the movement to try to sneak around seems to be a little bit too much, so I don't know if we're going to be able to do anything there. Maybe if the warrior sort of backs off, but I don't think that's a possibility. So I'm going to keep pegging away here. Notice this tile is on fire, as is this tile, so the units are taking a little bit of damage. The burning arrow is truly a great defensive unit. The longer these units sit in these tiles, the more damage they'll take. Culture exchange with Lafayette, I will just accept. I want to save that influence to increase our relationship with Trung Trog. Next up on the technology tree, I think we need to go writing and get access to the library as soon as possible. And I know it looks like, and I think I said before, but sailing is not actually required for writing. I think this is meant to say that sailing or pottery, not 100% sure there. And then next up on the civic tree, since I've got the first 2 here, we could go mastery. The Gate of Nations is a decent wonder, but I don't plan on doing a lot of wars other than maybe Sagunia. Of course, it'd be smart just to befriend them. So let's start with earthworks, unlocking the pot cop and giving us plus 10% production toward constructing building. That's a flat increase. And then by doing a mastery in it, we'll get +1 settlement, and then we'll get the tradition of shell-tempered pottery, plus our unique wonder. Remember, a tradition is a social policy that is ageless. It'll follow us throughout the rest of the game. It looks like these warriors do not want to play. This one here is heading down towards Moreau, which they're fully capable of defending themselves. So I'm going to take the opportunity and try to scoot around. Probably a little too risky, but I am going to stick to the road. Any movement that this warrior takes will end its turn, so we'll see how that goes. Another fire from the burning arrow. And our second town is about to be settled. It is Appalachia. And oddly enough, I don't see any sort of disadvantage from not settling on fresh water. Maybe it's the fact that it's coastal. It's able to mitigate that disadvantage. If we go back to the settler lens, you can see while the tiles are, I guess it's red, it doesn't say that it's going to suffer the disadvantage of not having fresh water. Suppose that one's right there on the river. But this one here says, for instance, no fresh water available on this tile, but I suspect because it's coastal, it doesn't really matter. I was expecting to see a happiness hit. I think the first one we're going to grab is the dates, because it's a 4 yield tile, plus we'll get +2 food and +2 happiness. Although I'm going to send those dates up to the capital. The more growth we can get out of Cahokia, the better. And it does not look like this settlement was too far away. You can see the road that was constructed between the two settlements. So that's good news. We were friendly with Druntrock, but I got a message that they were not happy. I settled too close to another civilization's capital. That's -20. How in the world did I do that? That's not too close. Get over yourself. Fine, I didn't want to be friends with you anyways. I'll go talk to Jose. Jose likes us just fine. Jose, do you want to do some open borders? All of a sudden, I got a notification that says Appalachia was not happy. Remember how we were at 3 happiness? Well, the next turn, it comes out to be -1. When we drill down, go over to the third tab, happiness, you can see we're getting the -5 deduction. So it looks like I just had to wait a turn to get the deduction for not being on fresh water. Cancel everything I said just a few minutes ago. Coastal settling doesn't do anything good. Now, -1 happiness is not too bad, but the next time I get an available resource allocation, I'll probably put the dates back. Or as a matter of fact, when they grow in 3 turns, I'll just give them these dates, which will add the happiness from the tile, plus 2 more from the dates. The Army Commander did make it to Alabama, and you can see that the burning arrow is now within its influence. So now when I do take a range shot at this warrior, we will gain some experience. A nice shot from across the lake and 4 more experience for us. We finally finished the altar, which is giving us 3 more influence. We're now gaining 18 influence per turn, which is pretty big. And I'm thinking to going directly to the monument for the bonus to, once again, more influence, food, and culture. And it looks like the best tile for it is going to be right here because of the bonuses we're getting from these resources. So we'll place down the monument right there. I'm going to start roaming around with the general to find out who we can attack. And I think Segunia will probably have some units up here. We'll eventually try to befriend them, but for now I can farm experience just by continuously hitting them with the burning arrow. Once we get closer, I'll highlight how much of a bonus having the commander is going to be. Look at this ivory, 4 yields. It's going to result in another gold because of the production and another culture in our empire. And right behind it, Appalachia's also ready to grow, and we're going to take those dates to try to fix that happiness penalty. Of course, I don't really know it's a penalty at just -1 happiness. And I will leave the dates in Appalachia. In the south, I am really jealous of Lafayette's potential. Look at a nice town right here. 2 irons, which means your infantry units gain +2, plus a jade, and they have a freshwater tile available. Already with another growth in Appalachia. Why are they growing so quickly? Already going to be a pop 4. Plus we have the benefit of the dates tiles, which is pretty good. But we're already ready for another growth. In this case, we're just going to go with the 4 resource tile right here. Look at that. Segunia already has a nice little galley out on the waters. Our soon-to-be vassal has gifted us 25 science, which is almost 2 turns worth of science. I like it. So I wanted to highlight how good it is having a commander. We're going to be over here on Segunya farming experience. There's a slinger in the tile itself. Now, if I just did a normal range attack, I'd get the bombard strength of 8 plus 1 because we're a suzerain of a city-state for a total of 9 versus a 7. But the army commander themselves has the ability to focus fire to give us a plus 2 combat strength. So it's basically going to be an 11 versus a 7. I'm not sure why, but we only got 1 experience for doing it that way, whereas we were getting 4 over here. But another great thing is, notice that tile is now on fire because of the burning arrows. So not only is it a great defensive unit, it's also a pretty good offensive unit. Another growth is available here in Alabama. Now, our capital here can reach out 3 tiles. So I need to be careful what I culture bomb with Alabama. If I selected this tile, it would gobble up this tile right here for Alabama instead of giving it directly to the capital. So I'm going to focus my efforts on places that the capital cannot see, such as this tile down here, which will lead further into the dates. Actually, this one would be a little bit better because then the next growth after it, I could select between the cotton and the dates, even though we're not getting the immediate bonus. Yeah, let me do that. Oh, Nelly. That was a mistake. Because this tile is more than 3 tiles away from Alabama, we were never going to gain access to it, nor will we culture bomb on it. I definitely 100% should have taken this tile instead. Whoops. We have unlocked the library. I'd like to get that building as soon as possible. It'll give us an additional 2 codex slots because when we do finally become suzerain of the Ur, one of our options is going to be to grab a codex. We're only 1 turn from completing the monument, so that's pretty good. We got another narrative event, plus 25 culture or plus 50 gold. I will take the culture, which completes earthworks for us as well. So we're going to be getting the plus 10% production to the buildings. And another growth over in Appalachia that just can't help themselves. I think we're going to grab the dyes. Plus 3 happiness, but it's also just a pretty good tile. Actually, the ivory seems to be a little bit better. It has 4 yields, so we'll grab it. Look at this, we found a little island off the coast. Next, we're going to be hitting up the mastery for writing. It's just too good. Plus 1 science on science building, so it's going to increase the science on our library. And it gives us a free codex. And we could also start using influence to steal technological advancements. My gosh, Trung Trock is up to 43 science per turn. Our culture's doing a little bit better than her, but yikes. So far, though, I think we're doing decent. As we head into another celebration, the only place that we're actually producing buildings is in Cahokia. So I think we're still going to do the plus 20% food because that's going to impact all of our settlements. And I'll grab the priesthood, plus 2 gold. And we're also seem to be timing pretty simultaneously between our civic tree and our tech tree. And we're going to go into mastery here to give us the bonus to our settlement limit. Plus that tradition of shell-tempered pottery of all buildings receiving plus 1 gold adjacency for resources will be really nice. If we slot it, all the buildings in these 2 tiles will receive a decent gold bonus. So this turn, I chose to do a normal range attack to Segunya. I got 3 experience for the army commander instead of just the plus 1 for doing the focus fire, which is very interesting. So I may not be using the focus fire in all instances, because in this case, I'm just trying to give my commander some experience, so it doesn't make a lot of sense to use it. Next up, we are going to be building the library. You can see that we'll get a plus 1 science for each adjacent resource and plus 1 science for each adjacent wonder. So you already kind of know where we're going to go. I think we're going to slot in right next to the monument, although this is technically between 2 resources as well. And it would also give me an option to build a wonder here, which would give us another adjacency. So I think we'll make another urban district. It was just a tundra tile anyways. This time the attack did result in a promotion. And I think for the army commander, I like initiative because our units can fire as soon as they deploy. But there are so many good options. But in this case, I am going to grab the assault. And we could go in here and destroy Segunya. But I don't think I'm going to. I'm going to let it pop another unit and then just keep attacking it. And with our fortifications complete on the tile, even if they make something like a warrior, I'm not too worried about it. As a matter of fact, it's going to take a while anyways, but with 200 influence, I should have done this a little while ago. I'm going to befriend them. Now, it's going to take them 15 turns before they're no longer hostile with us. That is just when they'll start to be friendly, and then another 8 turns before they become a true city-state and give us the bonus, and then a total of 30 turns before we end up becoming their suzerain. So I really need them to pop a unit out sooner rather than later so I can destroy it right before they become our vassal. Down here in the south, our exploration has discovered that the AI is expanding quite a bit. They've also increased their settlement limit to 4, which we are about to do as well once we finish that civic. So I need to get a settler going too. But the map is filling up fairly quickly. I think we'll try to pop another settlement somewhere in here, or possibly going further east to grab some more of this jade, the fish, ivory, and silver. It looks like each episode I'm able to knock out about 22 turns. I hope you're enjoying the progress we've made so far, and I'm looking forward to reading your comments about this episode below. So until next time, much love, happy gaming, and I'll talk to you soon.